Today is about the remembrance of our brother George Floyd.
I can't breathe.
As far as the needs of the people, that hasn't went anywhere.
Fortunately, we've all been painted with this broad brush.
It's moving slowly, but it's making progress.
Now at 6, a day to remember, a day to reflect, and a day to reassess. How far has our country and our community come in the 365 days since George Floyd was murdered by a Minneapolis police officer? And how much further do we still need to go? Good evening, everyone, and thanks for being with us. I'm Jamison Euler.
And I'm Lauren St. Germain. Wendy is on assignment. Across the country, people have marked the day George Floyd died at the hands of a former officer who is now a convicted murderer. This is video of George Floyd's family leaving the White House within the last 2 hours. They had a private meeting with President Biden and Vice President Harris. The family also met with leading members of Congress. It's been 1 year since the death of George Floyd, and federal police reform has yet to be passed. It's something the president had promised would happen by today.
This is the thing. If you can make federal laws to protect the bird, which is the bald eagle, you can make federal laws to protect people of color.
But there are signs of progress. Data from the National Conference of State Legislatures found at least 82 bills aimed at police reform and transparency have passed across the country since Floyd's death.
You may remember protests like this last summer in Tampa and St. Pete following Floyd's murder. We wanted to take a look at how things have changed in the Tampa Bay area with law enforcement and in the black community. ABC Action News reporter Eric Waxler is working to get more insight from all sides. And tonight he found progress, but also talked with people who say there is still a long way to go.
Video of George Floyd's murder in Minnesota led to outrage around the world. But those involved in the social justice movement locally say they are still waiting for action. Jarvis Washington founded Black Lives Matter Restoration Polk Incorporated.
Things have changed as far as the spirit of the people, but as far as policies and government and police reform is concerned, I think it's still the same thing that's been presented across the country. The movement has slowed down as far as marching in the streets, but as far as the needs of the people, that hasn't went anywhere.
Washington says his group is still pushing for more transparency from law enforcement, including a citizens review board with more influence. They also want agencies to use body-worn cameras.
I think with the new modern age, I think we should be able to upgrade our police officers to new modern equipment, and we shouldn't still be on the he say, she say, and the honorary system, honestly.
Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd calls the killing of George Floyd a horrific event, one he would have handled much differently.
Had that happened here, I would have had that officer in jail before sundown.
Judd says all law enforcement agencies are being painted with a broad brush. He says the Polk County Sheriff's Office has never trained its deputies to use chokeholds, and they've used de-escalation strategies for decades.
I send everyone, 100% of my deputies and my dispatchers, to crisis intervention training to teach them to recognize mental illnesses, to teach them how to de-escalate, to teach them not only how to recognize, but to talk.
He says he hasn't ruled out bringing body cameras to his agency, but has many concerns, including privacy rights.
The government doesn't have a right to put a camera on you and march through your home while conducting an investigation. It doesn't have a right to talk to you at the most sensitive times when maybe your child's been killed in a crash.
While the level of action that resulted from the George Floyd murder doesn't satisfy everyone, it has brought many new discussions on race. Kelvin McCree heads up Courageous Conversations, a program that's part of the Lift Lakeland initiative. He says it started as a way to improve race relations, but has turned into much more.
That helps us to learn about others. It helps us to remove some of the blind spots we have about this kind of monolithic society we have. In reality, we have lots of different experiences.
McCree hopes 15,000 people in Lakeland will go through the Courageous Conversation program.
It takes a lot of courage to allow someone else to share their pain, to share their thoughts, to share their experiences. And I think by doing that, that helps all of us.
Congress is still working to pass a police reform bill. And when it comes to the local level, Washington says his community needs to be better represented.
We are not being targeted in the laws and in the planning and the structuring of the future of America. So that's where we're missing out at.
A few agencies and a few officers have brought shame on this entire industry of hardworking men and women that go out and do the right thing every day.
Eric Waxler, ABC Action News.